Why does it appear that the vast majority of women prefer the same small group of men? By examining the interaction between technology and female hypergamy in the liberal West, one can point out a few simple observations in answer to this query. In summation, the following can be accounted for. There is a strong outcome asymmetry in preferences between men and women when it comes to selecting a mate. We don't have to assume very much to see this play out in the real world, only that men prefer young women and women prefer high-status men. The positional trait, social status in this case, when amplified by both technology and the freedom to use those technologies, the selection pool of prospective mates increases far faster for the median woman than it does for the median male. Given that women are primarily interested in status, which is a positional good, then any technology that amplifies your ability to be noticed by high-status men will also increase mating inequality. Consider, for example, how many men do not benefit nearly as much from the scale offered by Tinder as do women. There are stark differences in how mate quality of the opposite sex is perceived. Starting from the extremes, the top 1% of men and women will usually receive likes from nearly all members of the opposite sex. The bottom 1% of either sex will be completely left alone. At a female attractiveness level of 80%, only men in roughly the 97th percentile of male attractiveness will get likes. HB6s will get likes to men in the top 5% of male attractiveness. HB4s will like the top 10% of men. HB2s will like the top 25% of men. Men at the 20% attractiveness level will simply not get any likes at all. So you see where this is all heading. As far as female desirous intent is concerned, the bottom 80% of men may as well be distracting nuisances at best and utterly invisible #MeToo potential violators at worst to the top 80% of women. That's what unrestrained female hypergamy looks like in the liberal West. A few alphas bathing in a lube-slicked ocean of vaginas, while the mediocre beta male masses languish in their masturbatoriums. Of course, real-life pairings don't arrange themselves according to online likes, yet. One look around and you can easily see that far more than 20% of men have some success with women. What accounts for the difference between online intent and offline action are a number of factors, the most relevant of which are 1. Female resignation to the inevitable and frighteningly quick loss of their beauty, and the romantic settling that most women who aren't batshit crazy eventually accept as a part of living in the real world where men have standards. 2. Holistic female attraction criteria that result in more complex mate quality valuations of men in real life. Face-to-face interactions, which contrast sharply with the artificially myopic female attraction criteria that inordinately emphasize a man's dating app profile and best angle photos. And 3. Porn and other sex substitutes that dampen the realization of female hypergamy by robbing middle-of-the-pack women of their valuable feedback on their allure. Social media amplifies female hypergamy by introducing more high-status men to more women, and vice versa, more hot women to high-status men. Localism moderately contains female hypergamy simply by limiting the number of HSMV men in any given woman's immediate environment, which many women get around by moving to the big coastal cities. Burnham's critique of scale is apropos here as a major factor in the development of runaway female hypergamy. The three cultural changes that have had the biggest negative impact on beta male romantic fortunes have been urbanization, social media and online dating, and female obesity. Numbers 1 and 2 increase beta male competition with alpha males by proxy, which relationally lowers beta SMV, while the last reduces beta male dating market leverage by shrinking their pool of acceptable prospects. If we are ever to solve the crisis of incel soy boys, we have to de-urbanize the shit libopolises and log off of our gadgets while mocking the women and thirsty betas who remain addicted to them. Formal social regulations and informal cultural regulations have historically been used to stymie the full and free expression of female hypergamy, at least in Eurasian peoples, because there was a gut instinct understanding that it was a bad arrangement to alienate 80% of men in an asexual purgatory and break the bonds of nuclear family formation by permitting women to waste years chasing the 20% of men they desire most. These traditional barricades against freewheeling hypergamy loosened the link between raw female desire and domesticated female behavior. Women may not have liked it, but tamping down on their unfiltered and unobstructed hypergamous drive certainly was good for society as a whole and may have signaled the beginning of high civilization. Over time, the cultural and geographic constraints against hypergamy imprint via sexual and natural selection onto the racial genetic code, so that today Eurasians are more constitutionally comfortable with monogamy than are Africans, for example. But some universal traits still linger, and female hypergamy is one of them. This is because the force of sexual selection provided by the evolved hypergamous urge is such a powerful Darwinian mechanism to ensure survival that selection pressures against hypergamy were only able to slightly alter primal Eurasian female sexual proclivities in the direction of monogamy and intersex SMV complementarity. Hypergamy, then, is ever present. The only thing that changes, whether it is realized or not, is the extent to which women are free to act upon it. Hypergamy doesn't necessarily guarantee an inequality in actual sexual encounters, but the more free that women are to act on it, the more likely they are to be social norms and to have institutions favoring women, i.e., fault-free divorce, preferential child custody laws, anti-slut shaming, and hyperpopularity on social media. It's a kind of victorious vagina queef-back loop. The greater hypergamous freedom women have, the more that governmental and cultural institutions have to bend to cater to women's prerogatives, and the more those institutions become feminized. There is nothing to say that female hypergamy is evil or wrong. It's an amoral Darwinian mechanism that exists because it powerfully maximizes the reproductive fitness and survivability of women. Given that hypergamy is a part of the world, men should learn to leverage it when it cannot be contained, and to contain it when it threatens civilization. Female hypergamy in moderation and locally contained by limited choice is a positive force for quality control. But unrestrained female hypergamy in highly complex, mass-scale societies can turn ugly fast, creating a gynarchic dystopia of blue-hair fatties bragging about their cock counts and haggard cat ladies holding out for a 6'4" Adonis, while swarms of men from invader tribes hate-rape lonely #resistance divorcees who welcome them in. White beta males are the debt-loaded middle class of the ultra-hypergamous sexual market, and the price for entry to the world of slender, chaste, feminine, young white women has skyrocketed beyond their means. An angry young man revolt is all but assured under these chronically persistent conditions of sexual, romantic, and marital inegalitarianism. In effect, Trump's election was the first salvo of this justifiably angry young man revolution, and if this ultimately fails, shitlibs and pussy hatters will soon know what real anguish is. One obvious outcome of reckless hypergamy in a sexually atomized male market is delayed marriage and childbearing, with too many years spent in endless dating cycles hopping from cock to cock and job to job, only to surrender at the last with a few remaining years on the biological clock. Simply put, white female preference cascades in openly hypergamous societies of the West are accelerating the lockout of beta males from Western women altogether, while also locking out so many millions of women from motherhood and happiness.